Beta recreation mods. It seems that dozens of them have come and gone over the years. Both for Half-Life 1 and Half-Life 2, there have been countless attempts from various modders to come together to make a mod based on concepts, leaks, and other leftovers from scrapped beta and alpha content. Most of these mods end up dead. I should know, I worked on 2 Half-Life Alpha/Beta mods back when I frequently spent my free time mapping in GoldSource. Despite the frequent failures, the Half-Life modding community never backs down from this concept. Why is that? The answer lies in the development of Half-Life and Half-Life 2. Though excellent games, both of these titles that we love so much went through similar struggles and went through many revisions and delays to bring out the final products we know today. Such troubled development cycles have the effect of creating a lot of content that goes unused, a lot of concepts drop by the wayside. This is one reason we see such an extreme interest in the early stages of these games' development. It's because there's a lot of content and concepts that didn't make it into the final game that spark genuine interest. The second reason lies in how openly we've been exposed to this content, whether shown to us directly, as in Half-Life 2 Raising the Bar, leaked to us by a German hacker, or found on a preview disc that cropped up 15 years after the game's release. We've gotten to see tons of scrapped content over the years. In the case of most AAA titles, we never get to see even a tiny fraction of the material that doesn't make the cut, but with Half-Life that couldn't be more untrue. And one final reason prompts people to delve into the modding scene for their alpha and beta content dreams. The betas are really cool. These are practically entirely different games from what we have today, and those games, at least based on what we've seen, would have been excellent in their own right. So that brings us to the actual topic of this review, Dark Interval, a Half-Life 2 beta recreation mod that, though nowhere near complete yet, does have quite a bit of actually playable game. This sets it apart from mods like Missing Information, which, while interesting in their own right, aren't really full games. You see, the very nature of beta content means that it was never a finished game. The Half-Life 2 beta was never a complete product. It was pieces of technology, coding, and art with little to no connecting threads yet. A mod like Missing Information rebuilds what actually existed of the Half-Life 2 beta. A mod like Dark Interval takes all the beta concepts and builds the game that might have been created from them. All that being said, is Dark Interval any good? Yes. Though it's far from complete, what is finished is amazing work. And from the posts that the lead developer on the ModDB page has made, this is a beta recreation that actually seems to have enough passion and talent behind it to go the distance and finish where others didn't. It's not the most polished mod at the moment. There are things that could be cleaned up. The reintroduced beta weapons, for example, feel unrefined in their behavior. The Brickbat is just the base game's pick up and throw, except it does damage to enemies. Which is fine, except the base game's throw is pretty pitiful to look at. Gordon doesn't have a very strong throwing arm unless he's tossing grenades, apparently. Then there's the Immolator, which is a really unintuitive weapon, and it's difficult to judge where you're aiming and what kind of range you have. I'm not sure what kind of hitbox it has, but it seems to be quite small, and also doesn't apparently match up with the particle effect that it fires. Then there's the matter of the mapping, which is also somewhat lacking in polish and detail, which could definitely enhance the experience. I say enhance because the mapping already does its job very well. Amazingly well, in fact, in terms of creating an engrossing and immersive atmosphere. If you watched my Half-Life 2 Cool Mods video on this mod, you might have noticed that I chose a bit of an unorthodox segment to highlight. That is, a calm, quiet stroll through the streets of City 17. No combat. I chose to use footage of a completely actionless part of this first-person action mod. I did that because when I played through Dark Interval for the first time, that segment was what blew me away the most. Walking down the streets of City 17, rain pattering against the street, the concerned citizen Breencast droning in the background, the citadel looming in the dark sky ahead of you. It was eerie, moody, dark, foreboding. It felt more dystopian than Half-Life 2 ever did. That 4-minute sequence was absolutely dripping with atmosphere, and it perfectly captures the darker tone that Half-Life 2 was originally going to have back in its earlier development. The rest of the mod doesn't slouch in this department either, but this segment really made the mod stand out to me, and it made me stand back and say, wow. I've always been a fan of Half-Life 2's introduction. The way it introduces you to City 17, the way it shows you how much has changed since Black Mesa. This mod, however, makes me wonder, why did Valve lighten it up so much? And if you can get me to question the final product, then you've really achieved something fantastic. Dark Interval shows that perhaps the more sinister concepts from Half-Life 2's early development shouldn't have been dropped midway through said development. And I think that's probably the highest praise a beta recreation mod can obtain. That's all for this mod review. Like and subscribe for more. But, in the meantime, this is where I get off.